Straw, Tiki Tierney on the Fan. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Brandon and Teak, how y'all doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You sound upbeat. And you got the name of the order right. Brandon and Tiki, not Tiki and Tierney.
Yeah.
You know what's up, Straw.
Just say it like it is. Straw, we haven't talked to you in probably a year or so, maybe more than that. But, I mean, we knew that things have really changed and been so positive for you over the last 15 years or so. But now you're a traveling minister, which is awesome. I love this. Tell us what's been going on with you and why this became a calling in your life to do it this way.
Well, guys, I could tell you this. I could never imagine myself, being a minister of the gospel and traveling as much as I do now, and the places that I go to be able to speak across the nation and do a lot of great things, cool things. Did a big fundraiser the other night with my wife in South Carolina for a ministry called House of Hope for homelessness and addiction, people that struggle. And so, they raised quite a bit of money, and we just get to play a part of that. I get to go in and really share my experience, strength, and hope, and my story of where I was and how I got there, and then how I got out, and do a lot of cool things. I go into a lot of schools for free. I don't want to be paid. I want to go in and educate the kids about, substance abuse, vaping, and all the things that are happening, because so many kids are having such anxiety and suicide thoughts, and kids are vaping and doing all kind of things. So I try to encourage them that there's a price to be paid for everything that we do. We can pick our sins, but we can't pick the consequences. And the reality of them, they're real. They were real in my life. So, I get to go and do a lot of cool things, speak in a lot of cool churches across the nation, and do a lot of men's conference. So I'm busy. Before the pandemic, I was going 250 times out of the year.
Wow.
It keeps me busy. My schedule loads up every year. I don't know how it's going to load up, but it just does.
Everybody wants a piece of the straw, man. There's no doubt. And you've got a book out. It's called Turn Your Season Around, How God Transforms Your Life. And listen, and we're going to get into some real baseball stuff here, but everybody knows, Darryl, how you partied back in the day, and we all know your story, and that obviously fuels your ministry because you're coming from a place that not everybody's been, where you've been down, you've been up, you've been down, you've had millions, you've been broken. But I would think on some level, Darryl, being a two-time cancer survivor, maybe even more than the booze or the drug, whatever, it has given you greater clarity as a minister, because I mean, when you're diagnosed with cancer, your mind wanders to dying. How does that fuel you and make you such an effective minister?
Well, it makes me understand the importance of grace that is given to all of us, and that we don't deserve, but God gives it to us anyway. And I think of the 2 times of going through cancer and losing my left kidney in my second surgery, and still being alive and standing on a stage in a pulpit and preaching, the gospel with one kidney, which is remarkable. You can live with that, but you would never think, that one would be able to be so hopeful about life, after, going through those type of things, and just realizing how short life is.
Mm-hmm.
Life is so short. I think a lot of times we take it for granted, and I just don't today. I'm thankful for every struggle. I'm thankful for every pain that I went through, because it's brought me to a greater place and a greater understanding of loving people. Because, when I travel this nation and I get a chance to speak, so many people afterwards come and talk to me, and so many people are hurting. They just don't know if life will turn to be good for them. How did my life turn to be good? And I told them it's because of understanding grace that I didn't deserve. And when I started to understand that, I started to understand that there's a purpose and a time for all of us to be here and make the best out of the purpose and the time that you're here.
I love it. I love it. So we're talking to Darryl Strawberry. All right, let's talk shop here, Straw Man. If you hand any kid a piece of paper when they're 7 years old in Little League, and it says, and they read it, and it says, all right, you're going to win the Rookie of the Year, you're going to be in 8 All-Star games. You're going to win 3 World Series. You're going to play for both the Yankees and the Mets, and you're going to crank almost 350 home runs. We would sign that in blood. That's exactly what you did. But we all know that we look back on your career like, man, as good as it was, what could have been? And I wonder, the past is the past. It is what it is. But if you lived a lifestyle maybe more like Gary Carter or Jeter, I mean, what could you have done on the baseball diamond, numbers-wise? Give us a direction.
Well, I'd never like to think about that, because of the fact is it turned out to be the way it was supposed to be. And had it not turned out that way, probably could have been a different story. Yes, Hall of Fame and everything else, but I probably wouldn't be the person I am today. I think looking at the trials and tribulations that I had to endure in life and not quitting and giving up would be a message of hope to bring to somebody else that regardless of what hand we have been dealt, it doesn't mean you give up. And I think a lot of times what people don't understand is my life was broken before I ever put the uniform on because I came from a dysfunctional home. And,
Yeah.
My father came home the last time I was 14, pulled out a shotgun and said he was going to kill the whole family. And had it not been for my mother getting me and my brothers out of the house, we would have killed him. So it could have been a tragedy in my life before I ever put the uniform on. I was already broken. Putting on the uniform don't make you well. It makes you an athlete. It doesn't make you a man. And I think a lot of times people misunderstand that. And I realize that more than anything in my life today, that the way the journey went, it was supposed to go because it put me on a greater platform today than I was when I was playing baseball.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I can see that, Darryl. It's one of those things where you can be lauded as a baseball player, as a sports hero, but it's when you get real and you have the same issues that a lot of people in this country have that makes you relatable, and it empowers you even more. I go back, Darryl, to when you first came to the Mets. The Mets were in a rough spot. This early '80s, 60 wins, 41 wins, 65 wins. You get there, you win 68 games, but then it's like immediate. Next year, you're rookie of the year, and then the next year you guys win 90 games. What turned for the Mets? And I ask that because I feel like Met fans are very hopeful for that to occur with this Mets team.
Well, I think what really made a change for us was Davey Johnson as the manager and the general manager, Frank Casson. I think he was more like looking at, we got younger players, but do we want to bring them up? And I was one of those young players because I didn't start off with the team in '83, and he sent me down to AAA. And after a month later, I came up, and the fact that Dwight Gooden came the next year, and then all the other young players that we had in the organization. So the organization was stacked with talent. From top to bottom, from the younger players coming up and that's making it to the big leagues, to the young, the lower players development. And I think that was a big turning process for us. And Davey Johnson was a baseball guy. He played the game. See, a lot of these guys come in and manage, and they think they're going to do well and have great success, and some of them do, but they never played the game. Managers that's played the game, like Joe Torre and Davey Johnson, they understand the game. They understand players. They understand how to let players be players. They don't try to control them. And I think that's what makes it so good when you don't try to dominate and have this force to control players and let them be players. And Davey let us play. And, I think a lot of things the front office didn't like, but he says, this is my team, and I run it the way I want to run it. And that's what made us so great because, we were able to be loose, and we were crazy, no question about it. You play in New York, you better have some kind of craziness about you.
You guys were nuts, crazy, nuts. Nuts.
But you got to have that.
Yeah.
You got to have that kind of craziness about you, because first of all, everybody hated us, but we realized that everybody came into Shea. You'd be lucky to win one game to get out of there because we were the bad boys and we wasn't kidding around. And this is our home. We're going to take our curtain calls. We're not going to flip bats when we hit home runs, but we're going to take our time going around the base.
Yeah.
So it was just a thing about us, that developed, from going from, my rookie year to that win of 90, when we let the Cubs beat us in 84, then the Cardinals beat us in 85. And then 86, we came into spring training, and we realized that nobody was going to ever put their foot on our neck again. We just wasn't going to have it.
But you can make the case here, Darryl, that if Davey was a little tighter with the ship, you guys would have had more than the one championship.
Well, we can all say that now. If I could have, should have, would have. I think we allowed the Dodgers to beat us in '88. We crushed them, during this '88 season, and they go on to beat us, through 7 games. But you think about, '87. Most people don't understand. We lost our entire rotation at some point. And we were still in the race, and we had the best rotation. And when you lose your pitching staff and you have to replace them with other guys who are not the same like your pitching staff that knows how to pitch in this kind of atmosphere, playing in New York is totally different than anywhere else. And I think those things you look back on and say, could we won more? Yeah, we probably should have won more. There's no question about it because we were good enough to win more.
Yep. So that's Darryl Strawberry. He's a traveling minister. He's been doing good things for a long time. And the thing about you, Darryl, and Doc has this as well, just revered from every aspect of every borough, man, because you put on both uniforms here. And I'm curious, in your words, Darryl, what is the biggest difference between the Met and the Yankee fan?
Well, the Mets fans, get a chance to suffer for a long time. The Yankee fans don't suffer because the Yankees are always in contention. They always put a team on the field that's going to at least have a chance to win. The Mets fans, have put teams on the field hoping we can win. It's a big difference in knowing that your team can win and hoping your team can win. And I think that's what it's been for so many years, in New York. And, I feel bad for the Met fans because they are amazing fans. People don't realize when we played in the 80s, that ballpark was packed, 35,000 a night, and they never missed a beat, and they were always there for us. And that's why I was crushing the ball so much, because I love the fact that they were going to be on their feet. And when you put those fans on their feet over there in Queens, it is incredible. And I don't think that they've been consistent enough to do that. I think they've been in the place of hoping we can win, instead of knowing we can win. Because we came out of spring training in 1986 knowing that we was going to win. And I think that's what they have to get on their shoulder. There's nothing wrong with that, have a chip on your shoulder. I don't care if the other teams don't like me and the other teams in the American League and National League don't like who we are, but we got a chip on our shoulder, and we bad, and we going to do it well. And I think that's what you have to play like when you're in New York, especially over in Queens. I think the Yankees play like that. They come to the ballpark, and everybody admires them and know that they got a great team, they got great players, and they guys do play hard.
Yeah, well, you know what, Darryl, is not. You're going to start turning back into that hated team because of the money Stevie Cohen is spending to get the Mets back on the high horse, so to say. Buck Showalter as the skip, but that brings me to what's going on right now with the lockout. You went through a couple of labor issues when you were, in the big leagues, but is it damaging to this game? I know it won't be for New Yorkers. It won't be for the New York Met fan or for the diehard New York Yankee fan. It's not going to be damaging for the Northeast per se, but as a whole, baseball going through what they're going through, this labor issue, hopefully it gets solved in the next couple of days. But how do you view it from a fan standpoint, but also from a player standpoint, this discord?
I think it's the worst time for them to be in a situation that they're in right now. It's a bad time, a bad situation on each side, owners and players, because you went through the pandemic and you had that and you had no fans, and then all of a sudden you get your fans back and they come back and they're really hungry for baseball. And then you have a good season and you go through that, and then you come in the place where you got to try to make a new agreement and everything. And they should have had that done before and had it in place before they even let it get to this point, because people are struggling more than we can ever imagine in society today, and they need different outlets. And baseball is a great outlet for families and people to take a break, from what's going on in our society and what we're looking at and have to deal with day to day, and the structure of everything that's taking place, from crime to what's going on in Ukraine. People need baseball, and
that's right.
You wish that the players and owners had put their head together before you even got to this place and says a lockout. It should never have came to a lockout after all that you have been through. I think it's going to really destroy the game if they don't get back soon enough. They already put themselves in a place where there's no spring training. That's over. You gotta do something different, and you're gonna have to do something different going into a season if you get a season. And how much of a season will you have? Because people in big cities are okay. New York is going to be okay, but people in other cities, the smaller market cities, are going to be crushed, because of the fact of, baseball not starting on time. And I don't think everybody think of the big picture of it. They don't ever think about the fans. They think about the labor agreements. I know that's important for players and everything in the game and everything, but you guys make enough money, to be able to come to some type of agreement with the owners and come together and make this thing work for the best.
Amen. Attaboy. Now he's preaching. Now he's really preaching. We got Minister Strawman in the house. So, Darryl, I'm going to transport you back to a specific moment, and I want you to just what's going on in your head. Let me just set this up, though, because everybody associates the 86 Mets with fights. Tom Niedenfuer with the Dodgers, Ray Knight dropping Eric Davis at third base. That was awesome. Even Greg Jeffries when he was with the Mets, when he charged the mound after he grounded out to first base a couple of years after that with the Phillies. So it was incredible, right? And it was who you guys were. But I look back at the fight with Armando Benitez when he drilled Tino Martinez after the home run right in the back. And Tino was really hurt, as you know. And then Graham Lloyd comes in from the bullpen. You come in, you're swinging, you're throwing hammers everywhere. That thing spilled into the dugout. There were cops. You guys were up against the net behind the backstop. I know you weren't afraid of anybody, but during that scrum, that was as out of control any baseball fight I've ever seen. What were you thinking during that scrap?
Let's go. That's part of it. That's part of what baseball is all about. You stand for your team, your team player. No matter what, you didn't get hit. But at the same time, that's the way the 86 Mets were. When someone got hit, everybody else couldn't. If you couldn't get to him, everybody else would get him. And that's what I kind of had learned to be as a player. And when we got into that fight with them, it was just a situation where we just needed to get him. And it was every angle was always blocked off. And I ended up in the dugout, and I ended up fighting with so many people in the dugout. I didn't care. Everybody jumped in. Coney was in there. Girardi was in there. It was just so many different people. Yeah. Rocha was in there.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe had to pull me out of the dugout. It's just like he came and grabbed me and he just said, "Let's go." I was like, "No, I don't want to go." He was like, "You going out?" And, because we were in it. We were in it to win it. That's what I love about New York. And New York fans and playing in front of them. I played a lot of places, but there's nobody like New York fans when things happen and excitement, and when you're playing good and fights and everything else. New York people are behind you.
It's the best,
and it's the best. Yeah, you can't make it up. It's just something that happens, and it was something that happened that night, and we just went crazy that night.
You did.
No, you definitely did.
That was scary, man.
Darryl, we appreciate you hopping on with us, and you always are so gracious with your time. And as I kind of do every time we chat with you, have you talked to Doc? How's he doing? Can you give us an update? We don't hear from him as often as we hear from you, obviously. But he's iconic. You guys are kind of tied together in so many ways because of that 86 squad and others as well. But what's going on with Doc right now?
I really don't know at this time. I know he's up in the New York area somewhere. He's spending a lot of time up there, and he's doing a lot of things up there. But I talk to him every now and then. We shoot each other texts, or if we see him at an event or something like that. And And, I know he's had some kind of health problems, and I just been praying for him because I love him,
Yep.
People always try to put it like I'm against him, and that's never been the case.
No.
I've always been there for him and wanted to help him, more than anything. So, my thoughts are always with him, and that his well-being is the most important thing.
Old Timers Day, Strawman. You suiting up or what, buddy? Come on. You suiting up?
Old Timers Day. If I come, I'm going to suit up, but that doesn't mean I'm going to play.
What do you mean you're not going to play? Come on, dude.
That's why they call it Old Timers Day. It's Old Timers Day, not new timers. That's for the young kids to be out there running around on the field. It's Old Timers Day. It's just a show up. And tip your hat to the crowd and say hey to all the wonderful fans.
But could you still knock one out of the ballpark?
Can you still go deep?
I don't think so. I mean, I probably could, but I can't run. I know that for sure. My knees are shot, and I'm definitely not. I'll be 60 on Saturday, so I'm definitely not about to, have any knee surgeries and stuff like that. It's too late in the game.
No, you don't need that. Happy birthday to you, bro.
Happy birthday for sure.
All right, man. It's good talking to you, brothers. Man. I appreciate you guys so much.